If you're still using paper sign-in sheets like it's 2006, let's go ahead and change that for you. Today we're going to walk through just briefly how to use SignSnap Home and go over some of its features. So you'll start off by either signing up or logging in, and for this example I'm just going to go ahead and start with logging in. I'm going to log into a pro account that I have here. And we're going to get started with there. So once you log in, you're going to be taken to your dashboard, and this is kind of going to be your main hub for pretty much any action that you take with SignSnap Home. So to start off, we will create a new sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up for an open house. Going to go ahead and select your date, time you're going to host it at. For this example, we'll just switch it up to 6 o'clock for the time being. I don't know why my magic mouse is being all buggy. 6 p.m. And you can look at all the required fields, which we'll dive into a little more later, but for now this is the standard template, as well as your follow-up template. We're going to go ahead and create our sheet. Oh wow, I need to record this on a different monitor. My computer's being very slow. Here though, either way, we're going to go to the live view. It's going to ask for your camera permissions, and you'll see why that's important in a second. Start our sign in here. Go ahead and sign in, just pretending I'm a guest here. As you can see, some forms are allowed to be skippable, others are not. Here you're going to see the first example of our dynamic fields and how they interact with each other. So for this example, we have, are you working with an agent? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Now it's going to bring me to an alternative question. Did you sign a buyer agreement? If I click no on that, you can see it bypasses that second question. So we'll continue with this. Did I sign a buyer agreement? No, I did not. And I'll skip my email. Great, you just captured your first open house sign-in using SignSnap Home. Now we'll go back to the dashboard. Go ahead and look at the submissions we got there. So you can see the name, phone number, all the pertinent information that they answered, and you even get a nice photo of when they click the Start Sign-In button. You can also see some of these actions, which we'll dive into in a minute, but for now, let's go back into our form, and we'll go ahead and show you some more of the editing options. So if we wanted to, we can go ahead and add, let's say, a checkbox, which is going to be your multiple choice questions. So we could do something like, how did you find us? And then we can go ahead and add some options here, throw on some things like Zillow, Realtor.com, signs, and social media. And once again, checkbox is going to be your multiple choice where they can select a few of the options. We'll go ahead and make that a required field. Go ahead and add another one here. Radio box, for example. The radio is going to be multiple choice, but they can only select one. This would be great for things like, how do you rank the house? Which we will throw in there. And we can add a few options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and save that. And so now we'll go back up here and say we really like this template design and we want to use it on all of our open houses. We can go ahead and click on the Save Template button. It's going to ask you what you want to name it. We'll just go Always. Okay. Always is saved. Great. Now we can come down here and take a little more look at our follow-up templates. So you can see by default we can use first name, last name, full name, met at, which would be the location that we entered up here. So in this example, 123 Main Street. Then we can use their email or phone number. So first option you have here is to edit your follow-up with your messaging template. So the default one is just hi name, It was great meeting you at, and then the address of the property or the event. Looking forward to staying in touch. So we can go ahead and customize this however we'd like. Same with our email templates. And once again, you can go ahead and save and load as many of those as you'd like. So that way, if you have a specific event for open houses versus a follow-up that you would use after an event, you can go ahead and separate those. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and save changes, go back to the live view and show off some of those changes. So once again, we'll start the sign in. Go like this again. Skip the last name once again. This time we'll go no with working for an agent. And I'm going to do this here for an example that I'm going to show off in a minute. We need an email. How did you find us? So this is that multiple choice where they can select a few things like I mentioned earlier. Then we're going to come to the radio, which is allowing them to only pick one. So as you can see, those things that only allow you to pick one, it's going to auto advance you. So that way it kind of just eases the flow and the psychological load on the user. We'll go back to our dashboard, go ahead and look at those submissions. And you can see now we captured, they rated the house a 2. Zillow and social media is how they found us. We got their email this time, and once again, another photo. So we'll go ahead and look at what these follow-up templates might do, starting off with the Add Contact button. By clicking this, you're going to take all the information that was entered here and create a contact directly on your device. So typically what happens there is it'll open up on an iPhone immediately to your contacts, but since I'm on a Mac, it's going to be a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add One Card, and you can now see that it put in where you met them for their company, their name, phone number, email, and it put in the notes what time they signed in, what date, and where you met them again, just for reiteracy. Go ahead and hide that for now. And then we will dive into the calling, which I'm not going to do in this example, but all it essentially does is just call the phone number from whatever device you're on. So if you're on an iPad, that's great because that's going to sync up to your phone number that's already on your main device. But if you're on a Mac or an iPad, we can go ahead and test out the messaging function. So I'm going to go ahead and send a message. Computer's being a little slow here, like I said. Well, since I already have a contact here, it's going to, for this phone number, it's going to go directly to that. But as you can see, it still is populating the name, the address, and the message. And then same thing if I were to click it here. If this was another contact, it would have changed that number and re-entered their information as well. Moving on, we're going to check out the email function real quick. If I go ahead and click this, it's going to open up the default emailing device. And once again, we go ahead and auto create. Hi, it was great meeting you at 123 Main Street, and it just follows our template exactly how we set up. Go ahead and discard this draft. And now we're diving back into the app. So a few more settings that we can explore briefly. You're going to see that our saved template from earlier is now here. If we would have saved our message template, it would have been there as well. But now we're going to look at just some of the quick customization on the colors. As you can see when I'm clicking this, it's updating all the logos and the main nav features. Go ahead and use this Keller Williams red and go ahead and dive back into our form. And as you can see, everything's going to be branded in here now. Start our sign in, capture another photo. And if you're not a fan of the dark theme, of course we have a light theme as well, which really does work better with some colors, I will say. We'll go ahead and do this, skip this, boom. And we'll go ahead and give it a best this time. And we're going to go right through another sign-in because there's some features I want to show off with the email and phone number capture. So we'll do a test 2 here, which it does a decent job about filtering out just mashed letters. But if you're just typing in actual things that could be words, it's going to struggle right now. But we're working on fixing that. But for now, we'll go to the next, and you'll see if I just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, what's that? It does not let me enter that. Okay, area code must start with a 0 or 1. How about the classic one that us realtors get? Oh, sorry, you cannot do that. So it does filter for patterns in the phone number to make sure they're not just spamming. And as you could see there, it kicked me back out. And that is part of our abandonment capture feature. So what you'll see is, even though I didn't complete that sign-in form, if I go back into the submissions, we're going to see that we captured all of that information. Yes, it wasn't valid, but it treated it as an abandonment, which we still capture the photo, so that way you know which person was in there being a menace. And if we look through here, this is great because if they start the sign-in and then decide to walk off and just pretend that they did it, you at least know who was there, and you're going to capture whatever information they started to enter. So say they got all the way up to their phone number and then they got annoyed at your questions, you're still going to capture all the information they entered prior to that. And additionally, it's a good feature because I've had numerous other apps that I've tried in the past that somebody halfway filled out a form and then another client goes, hey, I'm going to fill out a form and there's a bunch of information in here. So just avoiding stuff like that is going to be a key element as well. If we dive back into the settings page here, I'm going to just throw back on the default colors and branding, and you will see that we have this Zapier webhook URL. Now, I'll show another video later in the future of setting this up, but for now I'm just going to use the one I've already set up. If we go back into our dashboard and then check out our submissions, you'll see this Send to Zapier button is now activated. So if I go ahead and click this, like I said, I've already set up the Zap for this method, but it's going to send. It says 4 cents succeeded, 0 failed. Now I'm going to dive into my CRM real quick just to show you that. So we see all the contacts I already have initially. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. And you will see Caden was added. And of course, because I only had one email in there based on how I set up my Zap, that's the only one it's going to apply. It's not going to submit blank leads without emails. That's based on the way I set up my Zap. We can go and dive into that in another demo later to show you and help you out a little bit more how that function works. But for now, we'll go back into SignSnap because that pretty much wraps up today's demo. We covered setting up a new sheet, customizing your sheet, looking at your submissions, going over a little bit how these submissions are handled, as well as your follow-up forms, showing off briefly how those follow-up forms work, diving in a little bit to more of our customization settings, and then we showed off briefly the Zapier integration. If this video was helpful at all, go ahead and like it, and then I will go ahead and work on these other demos that you guys are highly requesting, such as the Zapier setup and other things that may pop up going forward. But for now, have a great day and enjoy using SignSnap Home.